United Way Niagara kicked off its 2021 campaign September 15th with the goal of helping 120,000 people in Niagara this year. We've invited Executive Director Frances Hallworth into our studio for an update. Frances, while the campaign is ongoing, the need just continues to grow during this pandemic.
Yes, so we're looking at two different issues happening at the same time. So we know that there are some workplaces that are really suffering. What is happening during COVID to them? I mean, some of them are barely surviving. But on the other hand, we also have more people who need assistance. So they don't really match up very well. The one thing that I can say that has been helpful during COVID, as we know that this has not been equitable on what the fallout has been to everyone, but there are people who have done very well during COVID because of the business they were in,
right.
What service they provided. And I do have to say that those who can are stepping up the best that they can. So that's helping to mitigate some of the other losses. We know there's been layoffs in some workplaces. Some have really not come back to the workplace. And if you just think about what we do in a workplace, it's all about getting together. It's about having kickoffs and barbecues and all kinds of special events and fun things. But that we haven't been able to do that.
Have your employee donations through payroll deductions, have you seen a decline in that during this time?
So many people have increased their donation, but also many people aren't in the workplace now. So some had to go to zero where others increased.
We're seeing a 20% increase in food insecurity across the region right now. How is United Way helping to deal with that?
So in a number of different ways. So we fund many programs that are related to food, from meal programs to food banks. So that's one way we deal with it. We also have the Niagara Garden Network, which has about 1,200 plots across Niagara, helping people become more sufficient and also have access to really healthy food. And we're also a part of the we actually host the Niagara Food Sustainability Network, where we're trying to get everyone who is a part of the food system working together and looking at new ways of providing healthy food, but that is accessible to people. So not everyone has a car, or not everyone can afford to take the bus. So we need to also think about those people who can't move.
When you look at statistics, when you look at the fact that we may be experiencing 4+% inflation rate after 2021, especially when you think of the price of gas being factored in, it looks like it's not going to move. We heard recently that the living wage in Niagara is almost $19 an hour. And we know that most employers are not paying that living wage. Are you seeing more and more people new to looking for help?
Yes. So I will say, on the positive side, there are more companies signing on as living wage employers. We'd love to see more, but at least it's continuing to grow. So that's really important. But we know even at the living wage amount, I think the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment is over $1,300. The living wage and the cost of rent just don't even out. And so then you start deciding, what am I going to pay? My rent, my food, my hydro. Thoughts of having a car and insurance are, really kind of out the window.
Normally, when the United Way launches its campaign, it comes up with a monetary goal. And we talked about this back in September when you did launch the campaign, that this time you chose a human goal of 120,000 people helped. How can you measure the performance so far during this campaign?
Right, so how we measure that performance is we don't actually measure it. It's our agencies and the programs that we support. So they help us measure that. And on an annual basis, they report to us, how many people have they seen, how many people have come through the door, how many different families have they served. And so they actually tell us what they've been doing. And that's how we get our numbers, is from all of our partners.
What are the areas of need, the biggest area of need during the pandemic?
So housing has really become a huge need. So if you think about how an emergency shelter will run, so they will have people come in, but the idea is that they also have to leave at some point because others are coming in. But when you can't find affordable housing for people, you're now backlogging the shelter system, which was already full before this. So never mind, since COVID.
You're hoping to take these people in to help them, but you're also hoping to move them into something
Yes.
that becomes a little more permanent.
Absolutely. So the idea is to help them find something permanent, stabilize their lives, and put supports in so that they can stay housed and not come back through the shelter system again.
What are you hearing from your member agencies?
There is no housing. It's practically a 0% vacancy rate, and if you can find something, you can't afford it.
That's a problem that doesn't seem to be going away, and we need to encourage developers, we need to encourage people to build rental housing, and how do we do that?
Yes, but and even if we do, we know it's a slow process from the time the idea is conceived that we want to build a new building to the time that someone can move in. Like, we're talking years for that to happen. I mean, there's fundraising and possibly government support, and the design and development of the building. So that's not a quick solution, that's for sure. And it isn't just the people who are living in poverty who are struggling with housing. If we just look at the average cost of a house now is like close to $650,000, I think.
And that is that across Niagara, that
Yeah.
number?
Yeah.
But we know that there are municipalities where it's much higher.
Absolutely. And so how does anyone ever get into the housing market right now? It's very difficult.
It must be very discouraging for young people trying to enter the market.
Yeah. And we come from a culture where you do your best to find a career, whatever that may be. You try to save for a home. But I mean, how can you be motivated to save for a home when you could never come up with that down payment?
So this campaign that's on right now, when does it wrap up, and what is the big focus as the next couple of months go on?
Right, so we will probably wrap up by the end of December. We will still have numbers that come in, January, February from some national workplaces, and we will be able to tell you then how much money we raised. Of course, we are already working on next year's campaign behind the scenes, because as you know, we have these, the matches. So you need to work on those early and make sure that they're secured. Like everyone, we're trying to figure out, when do events come back? We would normally be planning right now to have a big event in March to celebrate, and no one knows what to do about it.
Frances, thanks for joining us. Best way for people to make donations to the United Way through the website?
Yes, so if they would go to unitedwayniagara.org.